Kwame Nkrumah, the visionary who dreamed beyond Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to take you on a journey, not just through the history of Ghana, but through the life of a man whose vision reached far beyond his country's borders. That man is Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, a leader, a dreamer, a Pan-Africanist, and the first Prime Minister and President of Ghana. He was a man who dared to believe that Africa could be united, free, and strong. His story is one of resilience, brilliance, and a passion that still inspires millions today. Kwame Nkrumah was born on September 21, 1909, in Nkroful, a small village in the western region of what was then the Gold Coast. His father was a goldsmith and his mother, Elizabeth Nyanaba, was a trader. Life in Nkroful was simple, but young Kwame showed great promise in school. He attended Achimota School in Accra, where he was exposed to new ideas and philosophies that would later shape his political thinking. But Nkrumah's hunger for knowledge took him beyond Ghana's shores. In 1935 he sailed to the United States, enrolling at Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. There, he studied economics, sociology, and theology. While in the U.S., he was introduced to the works of Marcus Garvey, W.E.B. Du Bois, and other Pan-African thinkers. He became deeply involved in discussions about the liberation of African nations from colonial rule. After further studies in the United Kingdom, Nkrumah immersed himself in the activities of the Pan-African Congress. By 1947 he returned to the Gold Coast to become the General Secretary of the United Gold Coast Convention, UGCC. However, his approach was far more radical than that of the UGCC leadership. While they advocated gradual reform, Nkrumah called for immediate self-governance, coining the famous slogan, "Self-government now." This radical stance captured the hearts of the masses, but also led to conflict with the colonial authorities. In 1948 he was arrested following protests and riots, but rather than weaken him, imprisonment made him more popular. In 1949, breaking away from the UGCC, Nkrumah founded the Convention People's Party (CPP), with a clear mission: full independence for the Gold Coast. The CPP organized strikes, boycotts, and mass rallies. Nkrumah was again jailed, but in the landmark 1951 elections, his party won by a landslide, and he was released from prison to become leader of government business, later Prime Minister. Finally, on March 6, 1957, the Gold Coast became Ghana, the first sub-Saharan African nation to gain independence from colonial rule. On that historic day, Nkrumah declared, "At long last, the battle has ended, and thus Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever." Nkrumah was not content with Ghana's independence alone. He believed political freedom had to be matched with economic independence. His government invested heavily in infrastructure, education, healthcare, and industry. But his greatest dream was African unity. He envisioned a United States of Africa, believing that only a politically and economically united continent could resist neo-colonial exploitation. In 1963 he was instrumental in founding the Organization of African Unity, now the African Union. His Pan-African speeches inspired leaders and citizens across the continent. Despite his vision, Nkrumah's leadership faced serious challenges. His ambitious projects were costly, leading to economic strain. Critics accused his government of becoming authoritarian, especially after he declared Ghana a one-party state. In 1966, while Nkrumah was on a state visit to North Vietnam and China, a military coup overthrew his government. He never returned to Ghana as a leader again. Nkrumah spent his final years in exile in Conakry, Guinea, where President Sékou Touré named him honorary co-president. Even in exile, he continued to write and speak about African unity. On April 27, 1972, Kwame Nkrumah died in Bucharest, Romania, after a long illness. His body was eventually returned to Ghana, where he was laid to rest in Nkroful. Today, Nkrumah is remembered as the father of the nation. His vision of Pan-African unity still influences African politics. His birthday, September 21st, is celebrated as Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Day in Ghana. Yes, he had flaws and made mistakes, but his belief in Africa's dignity and self-determination remains a guiding light for many. His life reminds us that great dreams often come with great challenges, but also that they can leave lasting footprints in history. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah once said, "The independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of Africa." Those words still ring true. His story is not just Ghana's story, it is Africa's story, and it is a story that is still being written.